Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this service. I'll lose the mask as of now. My wife Kyoko is about 20 feet from me and Alan Goto is about 30 feet from me. We are preparing this Dharma talk, Alan, Kyoko, and I, for the Arizona Buddhist Temple for the first Sunday in February of 2022, which I believe will be February 6th. Lynn, Michael, and Vaughn Sensei Tachi will integrate this talk into a full-fledged service, which they will present for you. My friends at the Arizona Buddhist Temple gave me complete freedom in choosing a theme for this talk. The theme will be how Buddhist spirituality brings clarity and focus into our lives without dispersing the mystery within which they always unfold. So again, my theme is Buddhism brings clarity and focus and at the same time leaves a little bit of mysteriousness at the corners of our lives. Our lives always unfold in a bit of a mysterious context. For humans, a variety of ape that talks and writes books, life will always elude our thorough understanding. That apes expect to understand their lives in great depth and breadth is a sign of their vanity, but it's also a sign of our genuineness. We must come to terms with our lives, humans. We must understand our lives to some real extent. We must know what our fundamental values are. And we will have some ideas about what this world we're living in is like. In order to live our lives in terms of our values, we must have some idea what the world is really like, so that we can live while being faithful to our values. Shinran Shonin, our denominational founder, expressed real skepticism, uncertainty about his ability to know about which paths lead to enlightenment. And the Tani Sho Article 2 is the classic location in our textual tradition for this existential dilemma. I cannot know with certainty what is absolutely true and false. I must live with absolute conviction. We must live with absolute conviction without having absolute certainty. I will then, if I may, read the second half of Article 2 of the Tani Sho, a record of Shinran's orally transmitted teachings. Shinran speaking, I do not know at all if the Nembutsu is truly the seed for being born in the Pure Land, or if it is the karmic act for which I must fall into some hell. Suppose that I have been deceived by Honen Shonin, and saying the Nembutsu, I fall utterly into hell, some hell. Even then, I should not regret it at all. The reason is, if it were that one who should have attained Buddhahood by endeavoring in other practices said the Nembutsu and so fell into hellish existence, then there might be regret. Regret that one had been deceived. But since I am one for whom any practice is difficult to accomplish, at all events, some hell is decidedly going to be my home. If Amita's primal vow is true and real, though, Shakyamuni's teachings cannot be lies. If the Buddha's teaching is true and real, Shandao's commentaries cannot be false. If Shandao's commentaries are true and real, how could what Honen taught me be a lie? So he's taught. So Shinran Shonin's oral teaching, chapter 2, or article 2 of the Tani Sho. There is much that could be drawn out of that relatively brief section of the Tani Sho. I would like to just emphasize that we see Shinran accepting humbly his limitations as a human. He doesn't know, as a thoroughly enlightened person would know, which ways of living lead into the light and which do not. He's decided to take a chance on the Nembutsu teaching as his path into the light, into an ocean of light. Shinran shares with us his conviction that the Buddha's power moves through Namo Amida Butsu. Shinran shares with us his commitment to enter the great mystery of life, saying the Nembutsu and relying on the promise of Amida Buddha. Saying the Nembutsu and relying on the promise of Amida Buddha to liberate us, Shinran is committed to enter into this great mystery, which is our life. The Buddha is committed to liberate all sentient beings, all living things, including us. Shinran tells us that the light the Nibbutsu leads us into is the oneness of all things. Shinran tells us Buddha nature is oneness. Shinjin is oneness. Enlightenment is oneness. Awakening to Buddhahood is realizing the oneness of all in all. This is Mahayana. This is Buddhist tradition. Another way in which Buddhist religiosity preserves some element of mystery in our lives is using foreign languages. Using foreign languages helps to reinforce a sense of mystery, a sense that the meaning is as yet incomplete and still coming forth. Now, if you would recall, my basic point today is that Buddhism helps us to find life, our lives, less confusing, more coherent and meaningful. But as we continue to study the Buddha Dharma, continue to plumb the depths of the meaning of our lives, we come to accept that life is always a mystery to us. Speaking, singing, chanting in languages foreign to us helps to remind us that we don't have it all nailed down. Now again, we're out here on the porch today, coping with the COVID epidemic, but on a regular service Sunday, when we can meet in the temple and have leisure, we usually have one thing we often do in the Pali language is the three treasures. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. So we use Pali, an ancient clerical language. The sutra chanting is in Chinese. The Japanese people never translated the sutras into Japanese for chanting. We chant in Chinese, Pali, Chinese. We use a lot of technical language here, which is Japanese. We read commentaries in Japanese, and my comments are in English, the only language that I'm really competent in. So that's 4 languages on a regular Sunday we're dealing with: Pali, Chinese, Japanese, English. How many of those languages are foreign to you? 3 of them are non-intuitive for me, non-native for me. Pali and Chinese being quite foreign in their meaning, and Japanese still being a language with which I struggle. So I hope that this use of several languages on our regular Sundays helps to remind you that you don't have the significance of life all nailed down, all settled. Understanding our lives is an ongoing process, a work in progress, a lifelong endeavor. Buddhist spirituality can help us with understanding this world and the lives that we lead here. However, the Buddhist tradition doesn't bring clarity to our lives by giving us a bunch of pat answers. No simple pat answers. The Buddhist way is to take a stance, adopt a viewpoint, which may well, assumedly will, need revision later. We take views that we know are imperfect, that we need revision and improvement later. Our way is to proceed with living our lives as Buddhists from perspectives that we expect to hone and polish and revise substantially later. So, for example, I've already mentioned that Buddhists view life as deeply one. Shinran tells us this over and over again. Enlightenment is the realization of oneness. It is one life that we all share together. This is our perspective as Buddhists. Yet, life is also many, diverse, polyvalent, filled with multiplicity. This too is our life. And this contrary vision has to be worked into our perspective on oneness too. The important thing is to have a wholesome viewpoint, a perspective that honors all living things. And it's important to move forward with this vision. We don't know how it'll look in the long run. To our one day enlightened hearts and minds, how will this oneness look? We don't know yet. In the Pure Land stream of Mahayana Buddhism, in the Jodo Shinshu school of Pure Land Mahayana Buddhism, our vision is one of being taken up by a compassionate force beyond our ability to understand fully. This kindly energy is what we call Butsuriki, the Buddha's power, Tariki, other power, Hongan Riki, the power of realizing the fundamental vow. The power that comes with Amida's fulfilling of the vow of universal liberation. Hongan Riki. Gradually, this power, this energy transforms us into people who find greed, anger, and stupidity to be distasteful. Gradually, this positive energy transforms us into people who find excessive self-concern to be embarrassing. All the work is offstage, behind the scenes, by the Buddha. This is all the Buddha's problem. What's left for us to do is simply the expression of gratitude and joy. What's left for us to do is simply a response to a felt kindness. What is left for us to do is an appreciation of what is coming to be. When you get what this Nembutsu means, that everyone is welcome to a life of purity, goodness, and joy, you like to say and hear the Nembutsu. So in closing, if I may, I'll ask you to join me in saying the Nembutsu, for a minute or so together. And I will see you all in Arizona one day in person, and I will speak with you again before too long. In closing, the Dharma message portion of our service, we rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.